Again, going back to the game Saturday at East Carolina, obviously disappointed more than anything in the outcome. And when you look at that game, you saw it live. You went back and looked at the video, and statistically, I think the story was third downs on both sides of the football. I think our inability offensively to sustain drives and move the chains, which resulted in us only having the ball for 15 minutes. I believe we were 4 of 12 on third down conversions. And then defensively, we were on the field for 45 minutes, 3/4 of the game, and we couldn't get off the field on third down. So it unfortunately worked hand in hand in a negative way. I believe they were 12 of 20 in converting their third down. So, again, we can complain about our offensive time possession, but it works hand in hand. Our defense we got to do a better job getting off the field on third down. And what we talked about last week, and we talked about after the game in our team meeting on Monday, is to be more efficient and successful on third downs on both sides of the football. It starts with what you do on first down. And specifically, at least offensively, our margin for error is so slim. We can't have an incomplete pass and get in 2nd and 10, run the ball for 3 yards, and get to 3rd and 7. We need to be efficient and gain 4 yards or more on first down. So when we get to third down, it's 3rd and short and not 3rd and long. We can't gain 6 yards on first down, and then we have an illegal receiver downfield penalty, which backs us up. And now again we get to 3rd and long, which we can convert, but the percentages are against you. So again, I give East Carolina credit as well. I thought they controlled both sides of the line of scrimmage. I thought their offensive line and defensive line controlled things up front and made it tough for us, on both sides. Anytime, Trayvon Stewart, I think I mention his name every week. He's doing a great job, again, specifically, or especially rather, as a true freshman. But when he comes out of the game with 21 tackles at the free safety position, it's a good individual performance. It's not what you'd like to have your leading tackler be your free safety. So moving on to Tulsa, you look at the team coming here in a couple days, and they may be the most complete team in our league, and they're extremely well coached and extremely physical on all 3 phases of the game, on offense, defense, and special teams. The video shows it, and the statistics prove it as well. When you look at their roster, of their 22 starters on offense and defense, they got 4 that are sophomores, and the rest they're seniors and juniors. They don't start any freshmen. So it's a veteran group. Again, unfortunately, a bunch of names that are very, very familiar to us. They've got, reminds me a little bit of us last year in their running back position. They kind of have the 3-headed monster. They're fast, they're elusive, they're powerful. They got Willie Carter, who's kind of an H-back type guy. He's a big young man. And obviously Cody Green, the transfer quarterback, is having a tremendous year as well. Defensively, I think they lead the nation in sacks. They play a 4-3. They're very, very sound. They're very good against the run. Dexter McCoyle's a guy that, he's a senior finally, and I've seen him grow up physically since he came in and started as a true freshman against us in 09 at their place, and was 6'4", about 180, and now he's 6'4". What do they list his weight at? 222, and that's probably a little bit on the low end, because I met him this past spring in person. He looks like he's about 230, and they play him down in the box, and he's extremely aggressive. So it'll be a big challenge for us, and we got to get back on track. We don't mind playing on the road. It's, however, good to be back home. It's good to have it for homecoming. I think our players and I would think our fans will be excited about our uniforms that will be showcasing this weekend as well. So we've, you know, we had good meetings yesterday. We had a light practice last night. We'll be in full pads this afternoon, and we'll get back on track and get ready to go Saturday. Team depth become an issue in terms of with injuries? Yes and no, and I think that's a great question. I think if you ask that question across the country to any head coach today, he'll probably say they're a little banged up. You know, and we're banged up. Charles Sims is banged up. We finally got Isaiah Sweeney back in the game. His first play, he catches a touchdown. His fourth play, he catches a little hitch and makes a guy miss, and then he's banged up again. So, you know, Kelvin King got banged up. So, you know, it's whether it's the beginning of the year or the end of the year, if you got a guy that can't go due to injury, the backup becomes the starter, and he's got to go in and perform for you. So, you know, we'll have some guys that we'll count on this week stepping up and playing at a high level.
Coach, some of the guys that you mentioned step up. Kenneth Farrow, can you kind of just elaborate a little on him and what he brings, and maybe the differences obviously between having Charles back there and having to kind of go with a committee?
Yeah, and you know, Farrow, Kenny's a guy who, you know, he and I keep saying this about a lot of our players. He's getting better every week, and I think you know, the one play that describes him best, which I actually watched again this morning at my desk, was our final offensive play of the game against East Carolina. We run 4 verticals with about 10 seconds left. David scrambles and dumps it to him about 4 yards in front of line of scrimmage, and he turns up the field, and I actually at my desk this morning paused it, and he's got 6 East Carolina defenders around him at about the 12-yard line, and Deontay Greenberry peeling back to help try to block one of them. And next thing you know, he makes 2 of them miss, breaks a tackle off his right hip, and runs over their starting free safety and extends the ball for a touchdown. So, you know, he's a powerful young man. He loves to play. Got a smile on his face every day, and I have a lot of confidence in him. Coming off the field last night, he and I had a great conversation, and you know, if he's got to take the bulk of the carries this week, I'll be excited to watch him play.
I mean, obviously you mentioned with Charles what the key number is, or what you'd like to get with a guy like that who hasn't played extended role. Do you lean on him as much as you can, or do you go like you mentioned with Braxton and Terrell?
Well, we'll get Braxton back. We'll get Braxton Welford back, Terrell Douglas back. You know, Ryan Jackson's a guy that's played a lot this year as a true freshman, and you know, has had a problem putting the ball on the ground, which is why he hasn't touched it very much the last couple of weeks. But we'll have to rely on him to hold on to it and play hard for us again this week. But if Charles does not go, we would not, to answer your question more specifically, we would not say we're going to give Kenneth Farrow going into the game X a number of touches. However, you know, once we recognize that he's got a hot hand, or if Braxton's got the hot hand, or if Ryan Jackson does, then we would continue to feed them the ball. Well, you know, not to disagree with you, I feel like we turned it over twice, and while you'd look going into the game, you'd say on 2 road games we turned it over 15 times. Here we only turned it over twice. The first one was critical. You know, we're down 28 to just to rehash it, we're down 28-0. We go down right before half, and it reminded me of the SMU game. You know, after SMU, I probably was asked more that week, hey, you got the ball back right before half, and why didn't you just run the clock out? And it was a very similar situation at East Carolina. And again, like I said that week, we would make the same decision. We're going there to win the game. We're going to try to go score. So we go down the field, we score a touchdown, get a little bit of momentum, I thought, going into halftime. And then we trade possessions coming out in the third quarter. We get the ball back. They blitz from the boundary. We throw a little quick out to Shane Ross. He makes one guy miss. He stiff arms another guy, and he's going down the sideline. And you know, I guess in my mind, I want to say worst case, but we saw worst case. But in my mind, worst case, he gets tackled at the 3, and we punch it in, and we go down 28-14, and we have momentum. But that was, in my mind, the first of our 2 turnovers where he's extending the ball to try to cross the plane as he's getting hit, and we fumble it out the back of the end zone for a touchback and their ball. And then on their ensuing drive, we create a turnover and score on the next play. So again, you know, it's, you know, if this and if that, but if we don't fumble it and we score and everything stays the same, becomes a 28-21 game midway through the third quarter. So, you know, am I happy we went from 15 turnovers to 2? Maybe happy is not the word. Maybe pleased is not the word. You know, we can't, a turnover is a turnover, and they're all critical. Unfortunately, that one happened at the 1-yard line when we, you know, we're on the cusp of getting 7 points, and now we give them the ball at the 20. So, you know, ultimately we got to take better care of the football.
You talk about the play of Philip Stewart and the leadership he's providing to young group of linebackers.
Yeah, Philip's doing a great job, and you know, Philip Stewart's doing a great job playing for us, and within his leadership. Again, he was voted captain. He's a 4-year starter. You know, and again, not to, I guess, respectfully say our linebackers aren't that young, with him and Everett being seniors and Derek now having started over 20 games in his 1.5 years here. But the leadership he does provide that I think your question addresses is to the Trayvon Stewarts, you know, to the truly the younger guys, regardless of position, and not only on defense but across the board. You know, he's a guy that, again, as a true freshman, played special teams until I believe Matt Nicholson went down, and then became a starter midway through the course of his freshman year defensively for us. So, you know, to see him around the Adrian McDonalds, the Trayvon Stewarts, and even the freshman linebackers that aren't playing this year, the Stephen Taylors, who's been traveling, but is redshirting, Thaddeus Legrone, those types of young men, you know, that's been critical for us, and that's going to pay off down the road when he's actually no longer here. But the way he's playing right now, and again, I don't have statistics memorized probably exactly, but I want to say he's got somewhere around 9 or 10 sacks on the year, 2 interceptions. You know, he's one of the top defenders in the nation, tackles for loss, and is doing a great job for us defensively.
I know Charles Sims is listed as doubtful and he's not on the depth chart, but can you explain exactly what the status is of his injury and what the process of the decision will be?
Well, we're gonna, and as with any of our young men that are injured, we evaluate them every day, regardless of the injury, even if they had a season-ending surgery, which we have one of our young men, Desmond Pulliam, having tomorrow. So we'll evaluate him every day. Charles suffered a new leg injury. It was not what he had from the previous game, and you know, he's doubtful for this weekend's game. I mean, it's could it change by Wednesday or Thursday? There's always a chance, but I think everybody's different. When I say doubtful, it doesn't look as though he'll play this weekend.
Tony, back on their ability to rack up sacks this year, it doesn't look like they've done any excessive blitzing, but it looks like half of their sacks that come from the D-line, specifically in the interior. Can you just kind of talk about the matchup there with your offensive line and how basically this will probably be the biggest challenge this year in terms of what you guys have coming at you?
Absolutely, and I think, you know, their defensive line's done a great job. And again, they run the 4-3. They're getting great pressure up front. They're getting a lot of production from, you know, not only their end position, but from their interior. They do a lot of, you know, they'll do some things with some line games and some stunts there where offensive line has got to be disciplined and understand, you know, how we're gonna pass those off. And again, I've said this before. Besides turnovers and certain other things that go into winning football games, I believe that controlling line of scrimmage is critically important. You know, they're leading the country in sacks, and I want to say they might be leading the country in fewest sacks given up offensively. I want to say they've only given up 4 or 5 sacks offensively, and they're getting the ball in their hands quickly, and they run the football extremely well. So it's going to be a big challenge for our offensive line and our defensive line, but you know, we've got to give our quarterback time when we're throwing it. We've got to do a better job sustaining blocks and creating lanes for our running backs to run.